Is it safe to travel to Turkey? That's the question we're diving into today, and for good reason. Turkey is a country that straddles two continents, balances modernity and tradition, and is situated in one of the most geopolitically sensitive neighborhoods on Earth. From bustling Istanbul to the sun-drenched beaches of the Aegean coast, and from the fairy chimneys of Cappadocia to the tense borders in the southeast, it's a nation of breathtaking contrast. But with that beauty and diversity comes complexity. And as someone who spent over 25 years working around the world in industrial safety and risk management, I now bring that same mindset to the travel space, cutting through the headlines and noise to help you make informed, balanced decisions about your journey. Let's start with the big picture. Turkey is a uniquely positioned country, bordering Greece and Bulgaria to the west, Georgia and Armenia to the east, and Syria, Iraq, and Iran to the southeast. This proximity to Middle Eastern conflict zones has inevitably shaped security priorities within Turkey, and it's a factor that shows up on the radar of many international travel advisories. Currently, the United States Department of State advises travelers to exercise increased caution when visiting Turkey, with specific guidance to avoid areas near the Syrian and Iraqi borders. Similar advisories come from Global Affairs Canada, the UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, and the Department of Foreign Affairs in Australia. Each one offers roughly the same message. Most of Turkey is open and safe for tourism, but certain regions, especially in the southeast, pose heightened security risks due to the presence of terrorist organizations, potential for unrest, and the ongoing threat of cross-border violence. But here's the thing. The overwhelming majority of international travelers don't visit the southeastern frontier. Most visitors arrive in Istanbul or coastal resort towns along the Aegean or Mediterranean, like Bodrum, Antalya, Marmaris, and Kusadasi. These areas are far removed from the instability of the southeast. They've been built up as international tourism hubs, and the security measures in place reflect that. Let's talk about Istanbul first. This is a city that's captivated the world for centuries. It's one of the most vibrant urban centers you'll ever encounter, full of history, commerce, and culture. But like any major metropolis, Istanbul comes with its own set of urban safety considerations. Petty crime, like pickpocketing and tourist scams, does exist, particularly in busy tourist zones like Sultanahmet, Taksim Square, and the Grand Bazaar. Be wary of overly friendly locals inviting you to tea or a bar. It's a known scam where you may find yourself paying an outrageous bill, or worse. Still, these are manageable risks. Istanbul's public transportation system is fairly efficient, though crowded. Be alert, especially on trams and metros, and don't flash valuables. Most crimes here are non-violent and opportunistic. Violent crime is statistically rare, and when it occurs, it's rarely targeted at tourists. Police presence in tourist zones is strong, and the city is under extensive video surveillance. Now, shift your focus to the coastal resort towns. These places are often perceived as some of the safest in the country. Towns like Bodrum and Antalya function almost like self-contained tourism bubbles. Large resort properties have private security, well-lit public areas, and a strong focus on guest experience. These are the places where families, honeymooners, and solo travelers alike go to unwind. The infrastructure is well developed, and locals are used to dealing with foreigners. English is widely spoken in these areas, and safety incidents involving tourists are statistically very low. But let's not gloss over real concerns. Travel further inland or into less tourist-heavy zones, and you'll need to be more vigilant. While politically motivated attacks have decreased significantly over the past decade, the occasional protest or demonstration can still disrupt travel, especially in larger cities like Ankara or Diyarbakir. These should be avoided entirely. They can flare up quickly, and while most protests are peaceful, they can attract a strong security response. Transportation safety in Turkey also deserves a mention. Driving in Turkey is not for the faint of heart, particularly in Istanbul, where the roads can be chaotic. Traffic laws are often seen as suggestions rather than rules. If you're renting a car, be prepared for aggressive drivers, frequent lane changes without signaling, and minimal pedestrian right-of-way. On the flip side, intercity buses are comfortable, affordable, and generally safe. Domestic flights are plentiful and on par with European standards. Food and water safety are also important to cover. The tap water in most Turkish cities is chlorinated and technically safe to drink, but most locals and travelers prefer bottled water due to taste. Bottled water is cheap and widely available. Food, on the whole, is fresh and delicious. Street food in Istanbul, like simit, doner kebabs, and baklava, is a highlight, but stick to vendors with high turnover and clean preparation areas. Foodborne illness isn't widespread, but like anywhere, it pays to be cautious with raw vegetables or dairy products in smaller towns or in hot weather. Now, when it comes to social and cultural dynamics, Turkey can present a learning curve. It's a Muslim-majority country, but it's not Saudi Arabia. The cultural vibe is far more relaxed, especially in tourist zones. That said, modest dress is encouraged when visiting religious sites. Cover your shoulders and knees and always remove your shoes when entering mosques. During Ramadan, try to be respectful of those fasting, even if you're not. Gender is another consideration. Solo female travelers generally report feeling safe in Turkey, especially in coastal areas and big cities. However, unwanted attention can occur, and catcalling is not uncommon in some areas. Trust your instincts, avoid walking alone late at night in poorly lit areas, and consider using taxis or rideshare apps if you're out late. As for LGBTQ+ travelers, the legal landscape in Turkey does not criminalize same-sex relationships, but public displays of affection may attract unwanted attention, especially outside major urban areas. Istanbul has a more cosmopolitan outlook, but discretion is still advised. Now let's talk politics. Over the past decade, Turkey has gone through significant political shifts. Crackdowns on press freedom, civil liberties, and dissent have been widely reported. As a visitor, it's wise to avoid engaging in political conversations, especially with locals you don't know well. Never make public statements against the government, the president, or Turkish nationalism. These can carry serious consequences, including arrest. That's not fear-mongering, it's just reality. What's perfectly acceptable in your home country could be a criminal offense in Turkey. Another note worth mentioning is the refugee situation. Turkey is home to millions of displaced persons, particularly from Syria. While this is a humanitarian effort on a massive scale, it has also created socioeconomic tensions in certain parts of the country. Visitors should avoid making assumptions or politically charged statements about refugees or ethnic groups. Again, a little cultural sensitivity goes a long way. Now, if you're thinking of venturing toward the southeast of the country, anywhere near the Syrian or Iraqi border, think again. The travel advisories are crystal clear. These areas are considered high risk due to ongoing security operations, potential for terrorist activity, and cross-border instability. Even if you're the adventurous type, this is not the place to test those boundaries. Stick to the western and central regions for a safer, more rewarding travel experience. Let's return to the topic of health and safety. Turkey has a mix of public and private healthcare. Private clinics in major cities and resort areas are generally of good quality, and English-speaking staff are common. Make sure your travel insurance covers emergency medical evacuation just in case. Pharmacies are widely available, and many medications are sold over the counter. If you're bringing prescription medication, make sure it's in its original packaging and accompanied by a doctor's note if needed. What about money and payment systems? Turkey has a fairly advanced banking infrastructure. Credit cards are widely accepted in cities and tourist areas, but cash is still king in smaller towns and rural areas. ATMs are plentiful, though you should always use machines attached to bank branches to avoid skimming scams. Keep a small amount of Turkish lira on hand for taxis, markets, and tipping. And speaking of scams, be on guard in tourist-heavy zones for overcharging taxis, rigged scales in bazaars, or friendly locals guiding you to shops where they get a commission. So is it safe to travel to Turkey? The answer is a qualified yes. For the vast majority of travelers sticking to Istanbul, the western regions and the coastal resorts, Turkey is safe and rewarding. The level of risk is comparable to other major global destinations, provided you use common sense, follow local laws, and stay out of high-risk areas. The crime that exists is mostly petty and avoidable. The infrastructure is solid, the culture is welcoming, but the region is still part of a complicated geopolitical puzzle, and that's something every traveler should understand before arriving. As promised, here's your surprise insight at the end. One of the most unforgettable experiences you can have in Turkey, if you're willing to rise early and venture out. is a sunrise hot air balloon ride over the unique landscapes of Cappadocia. And yes, it's safe, regulated, and operated by experienced crews. It's a once-in-a-lifetime view, and one that perfectly captures what makes Turkey so compelling. Complex, yes, but also breathtaking. If this helped you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and check out the rest of the Travel Safety Network library for more destination safety breakdowns. And if you're looking to plan a cruise or all-inclusive getaway, reach out to Paula and me at True North Travel. We'd love to help you navigate your next great escape, safely. Stay smart, travel well. I'm Stephen with the Travel Safety Network. See the world, and stay safe.